Some state lawmakers say state government may be partially to blame for that shutdown. The Amoco Oil Company arrived in Carroll County today. They're setting up a rig to begin oil drilling. Linda McEntee will have that story. Weather-wise, rain in our forecast, but not till later in the week. All of today's news in 30 minutes.
The president comments on his memory in the Iran affair, and Colonel North claims the special prosecutor is unconstitutional.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. The president's memory, a beautiful secretary, a surprise lawsuit, and growing anticipation about the Tower Commission's report. Those were the key elements today in the Iran-Contra affair, a real-life drama that is being played out on so many stages here in the nation's capital. The president's memory involves a New York Times story today that the president can't remember whether he authorized the initial secret Israeli arms sales to Iran. As NBC's Chris Wallace reports, that subject came up when the president posed for pictures at an economic meeting today.
The president responded to reporters' questions today with one of his own, appearing to confirm he does not remember whether he approved the original arms shipments to Iran.
I'd like to ask one question of everybody. Everybody that can remember what they were doing on August 8th of 1985, raise your hand. I think it's possible to forget. Nobody's raised any hands.
What the president was doing that day was meeting with top advisors at the White House, subject whether to permit Israel to sell arms to Iran. White House sources say in 2 sessions with the Tower Commission, Mr. Reagan gave conflicting accounts of what he decided, first indicating he approved the shipment, then 16 days later that he did not. But top White House officials now say the real story is the president can't remember. House Speaker James Wright said it's appalling for Mr. Reagan to forget something so important.
The experience of working with him, though, sir, do you find that credible that he wouldn't remember that big a decision? I mean,
Yes, I find that credible.
Another leading Democrat said it's one more case of the White House not coming clean.
When testimony is changed, when documents are changed, when positions are changed, you have to say that it's more than just a failure of memory.
Charges of cover-up are focused now on Oliver North's secretary, Fawn Hall, who has told prosecutors she destroyed and doctored key evidence at North's request. Media interest in Hall is so great, her lawyer had her pose for cameras today. She seemed to enjoy the attention.
It's a little overwhelming. One of my friends said Andy Warhol once said everyone's famous for 15 minutes. I kind of feel like that right now.
Avoiding cameras, but still on the job, White House Chief of Staff Donald Regan. Top officials say the president won't discuss Regan's future with him until sometime next week. And some say Regan may still be able to hang on. The next big event, though, is the release of the Tower Commission report on Thursday. Officials say the president will attend the panel's news conference to emphasize he wants all the facts out, no matter how damaging. Facts that, in some cases, the president can't remember. Chris Wallace, NBC News, at the White House.
And lawyers for Oliver North surprised everyone today by claiming that the investigation by the independent counsel, the special prosecutor in the Iran affair, is unconstitutional. In a suit filed in federal court, North's lawyers argued that since the special prosecutor cannot be fired by the president, he is not truly a member of the executive branch. And under the Constitution, only the executive branch can prosecute crimes. Well, the special prosecutor in this case, Lawrence Walsh, said he'll oppose North's suit, that the statute creating his position has been carefully studied and it is constitutional. However, this matter never has been tested in court. And former National Security Advisor Robert McFarlane was out of the hospital and back in his office today. McFarlane, hospitalized 2 weeks ago for an overdose of Valium, spent the weekend at a family cabin and checked out of Bethesda Naval Hospital yesterday. McFarlane is seen here arriving home from work. His lawyer said he'll be meeting with the special prosecutor and investigators for the House and Senate committees. Also coming up here tonight on NBC Nightly News, Carl Stern with details from the track on a Supreme Court decision saying it's okay for professional gamblers to deduct their losses from their income taxes. And Bob Dotson tonight on a basketball coach who learned the hard way it is not enough just to teach youngsters how to shoot outside jumpers or clear the defensive boards.
Hey, get back! Americans are eating healthier than ever, or so they think.
Even healthy foods may not be as healthy cooked in oil, margarine, or butter. Introducing new all-natural Pam No-Stick Cooking Spray. It adds just 1/10 the fat and calories of those things and keeps food light and delicious. The choice is yours. These or new all-natural Pam, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
Mom, hi. Listen to this. Well, of course you'll hardly hear anything. It's my new Whirlpool dishwasher. Yes, it's on. Oh, it cleans great. Everything just cleans. And it's so quiet, we won't have to shout anymore. Mom, what's all that noise? Oh, it's your dishwasher.
We're making your world a little easier. Whirlpool.
This man is missing nearly 1/2 of the fiber he should have every day. He's not the only one. The National Cancer Institute states that most Americans have diets lacking adequate fiber. Fortunately, just one serving of Kellogg's All-Bran has the amount of fiber needed to make up what the average person is missing each day. Kellogg's All-Bran. It can make all the difference.
The nation's governors today approved a sweeping new plan to put people on welfare to work. They took it to Congress, where House Majority Leader Jim Wright said, "We will give it a high priority," and President Reagan has endorsed major parts of this plan. The governors proposed that all recipients of cash assistance with children 3 and older be required to take part in a work program. They said these programs should be flexible and could include remedial education and job training. And the governors called for a binding contract requiring welfare recipients to strive for self-sufficiency. In several states, some people on welfare already are required to work. This is called workfare. And NBC's Connie Chung has more on the story tonight.
Yvette Robinson went on welfare 6 years ago when she had to leave the Army because she was pregnant. But next Monday, she starts a new job at the IRS. She's part of a new experiment in welfare reform. Learn a job, then give up welfare for work.
And I made up my mind to get off the pot and do something for myself. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something for Yvette.
Yvette is one of thousands of welfare recipients in 26 states who have taken advantage of workfare programs. A study by an independent research organization of 3 states and 2 major urban areas shows workfare is a modest success. Welfare payments in those areas decreased. Judith Garan, president of the research group.
We found that programs increased employment and earnings between 8 and 37%, all of which suggests a ground for optimism. At the same time, we found that this was not the cure-all for poverty, that many people after participating remained on the rolls.
Patricia Gilmore has not returned to the rolls. She and her son had spent 3 years on welfare when she saw an ad in the paper and joined the Massachusetts Workfare program. Now she's been working as a paralegal for a year. She's self-supporting and proud.
If you give a man a fish, which is what I was getting my checks, you feed him for a day. But when you teach a man to fish, he'll feed himself for the rest of his life. And I feel like I learned to fish.
Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis likes to boast about his state's program as a model for the nation.
They're not picking up bottles along the highway or in dead-end jobs. We're talking about daycare for those youngsters, good daycare, and real training for real jobs, and medical benefits for some period of time after that welfare mother goes to work.
But researcher Gene Kluver, who analyzed the state's employment training, or ET program, questions some of Dukakis' claims.
2/3 of the ET budget, $20 million, goes only to pay for child care, and it still isn't enough.
Massachusetts and other states work with private industry to place people like Patricia Gilmore in jobs. Here, the program is voluntary. California's GAIN program, which taught Ignacio Cachu to be an auto mechanic, is compulsory. Critics say that the threat of losing benefits can force people into jobs they don't want, or compel mothers to leave young children at home while they work. Robert Whitaker heads the GAIN program in Fresno.
My answer to the critics is that they evidently don't know the public assistance recipient, because they have no hope now. And the programs like the GAIN program at least offer some hope.
The idea of workfare programs has brought together a rare alignment of Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives. The problem is, will the money be there to match the rhetoric? Connie Chung, NBC News, New York.
The nation's governors were also dealing with the national speed limit today. They passed a resolution calling on Congress to permit states to raise the limit from 55 to 65 miles an hour on stretches of rural highways. Congress has rejected previous attempts to raise the limit. For a time today, there were airline traffic jams in parts of the South after a major air traffic computer failed in Houston. The failure briefly knocked out the main radar system and caused big delays at airports in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. New and better computers are part of a broad government plan to overhaul the nation's air traffic control network. However, as NBC's Robert Hager reports now, that plan is beset by long delays and other problems.
At air traffic control centers, 1960s-era computers get so overloaded, they sometimes leave vital information off radar screens. Controllers waiting for new automatic equipment are forced to deal with traffic manually, spacing out flights for safety and creating passenger delays. And as air traffic becomes more dense, the number of near collisions grows. Back in 1981, the Reagan administration announced a big plan to deal with this. Drew Lewis was Secretary of Transportation then.
I anticipate a very major expenditure in the next 10 years to upgrade the entire controlled system in the entire country. We're talking a possible expenditure of $10 billion over a 10-year period.
When the plan was announced, it was billed the biggest civilian government program since the Apollo moon landing project. Taxes were raised on airline tickets and aviation fuel to pay for it. But nowadays, a joke around the Federal Aviation Administration has it that 5 years into the plan is 5 years behind schedule. New computers delayed 1 to 2 years, supposed to be in the 20 biggest air traffic centers by this summer. So far, only 2 have been delivered. New programs for the computers delayed 3 to 8 years. They're supposed to automatically make decisions about routing and altitudes and relay those instructions to the cockpits. New and more precise radar nationwide delayed 3 years. Even a plan for new unmanned weather stations has been delayed 5 years. A laser beam supposed to relay to pilots the cloud height or ceiling doesn't work. Critics say the program is behind because it was too ambitious in the first place. FAA Administrator Donald Engen says that's not so.
To the extent that there have been delays, there's been some technology problems, which you would expect. We've set our goals high. We've solved those technology problems. We are not failing to make the gains we said.
Herbert McClure, congressional investigator for the General Accounting Office, disputes this.
Our experts in these kinds of procurements feel that in the more complex parts of this system, there's about a 50-50 chance that the system won't work.
As for the tax money raised specifically to pay for the new program, there's $4.5 billion currently not spent because the equipment isn't ready. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
Morton Thiokol, the firm that built the faulty booster rocket that caused the space shuttle disaster, has made a financial settlement with NASA. The space agency announced today that Morton Thiokol agreed to cut its fees by $10 million. The company also said that it would take no profit on $409 million worth of work needed to fix future shuttle boosters.
Ford Tempo. For a limited time, you can get 3.9% financing, plus cash savings up to $1,558. Available on specially equipped Tempos. See your Ford dealer for details.
Dad's bad, Mommy. Daddy's coughing like crazy.
Oh, you sound awful.
Give him my cough medicine.
Daddy needs something stronger than that.
When a strong cough comes on, adults need a strong medicine to help turn it off. Vicks Formula 44, the only liquid cough medicines with the maximum strength cough suppressant adults need in every formula for the relief adults want. Formula 44, strong medicine to help turn a strong cough off. From Vicks, of course.
Taste this. The whole thing?
Uh-huh.
That's a big crunch for such a little thing.
That little thing's packed with goodness.
I can believe it with a crunch like that. It's got a nice nutty taste.
And it has no added sugar or preservatives.
There's no room.
Huh.
What are these little things?
Grape-Nuts cereal.
Grape-Nuts? I could go for a whole bowl full.
You got it.
Have a bowl of crunchy, nutty, packed with goodness Grape-Nuts today.
Get that toaster fixed yet, dear?
time out for Tetley?
When you're all charged up, there's nothing like a relaxing cup of Tetley tea.
Time out for tiny little tea leaves in Tetley tea.
One of the best hopes for controlling the spread of AIDS now appears to be widespread testing to alert people who have been exposed to the AIDS virus. But does that mean that AIDS testing should be mandatory for everyone? As NBC News science correspondent Robert Bazell reports, federal health officials met in Atlanta today to consider this very controversial question.
We have no choice but to consider and reconsider every possible approach to preventing the spread of this epidemic.
The issues, whether to test more people to find out whether they are carriers of the AIDS virus, and whether to make the test mandatory in some situations. Many spoke in favor of more testing.
I think we need to basically make this a routine aspect of medicine so that the danger of harboring the AIDS virus and transmitting it unknowingly to someone would be averted if people just knew.
Most of the concern about the test focused on whether it should be mandatory. There were fears that those who test positive will lose their jobs, homes, or insurance.
We are not opposed to the test per se. We are opposed to compulsory testing, and we are opposed to not having the test available on an anonymous basis where that is feasible.
One study showing how much the test may be needed came from Kings County Hospital, a public hospital in a poor section of New York City. A random survey there of women giving birth found that 2.45% were infected with the virus and thus likely to give birth to children with AIDS. Almost half the infected women were unaware they were in a group that is at risk for AIDS.
And the concern there is that the disease is spreading through sexual transmission to women who will not know that it has spread to them and will not have the opportunity to avoid transmitting it to others.
One of the conclusions likely to be reached at this conference is that more women should be tested before they decide to get pregnant. It is also likely there will be calls for more testing in other places, including venereal disease clinics and drug treatment programs. But for now, few health officials believe the testing should be mandatory. Robert Bazell, NBC News, Atlanta.
And West German health officials are considering a proposal to require all AIDS patients to register with the government. But today, a West German Doctors Association said most doctors would refuse to cooperate with that requirement. Meanwhile, British health officials reported today the first known case of a person who was infected with AIDS through a skin graft. As in this patient's case, skin grafts often are used to treat burn victims.
Look to Northwest. We're working hard to give you all our best. Look to us, Northwest.
It began as a simple test to see what hundreds of business people preferred. Long-distance calls made on the fiber optic lines of U.S. Sprint or calls made on AT&T's lines. Over 75% preferred the clarity of U.S. Sprint, and over 90% of them said they'd switch. That's not a test. That's a landslide. Call U.S. Sprint. We're building the first and only 100% fiber optic network clear across America.
Introducing Medipren when you haven't got time for the pain of arthritis.
Haven't got time for the pain. No, I haven't got time for the pain anymore.
Medipren has ibuprofen, the prescription ingredient recommended by doctors 2-to-1 over aspirin for body pain, including minor arthritis pain. And it's gentler to your stomach than aspirin.
I haven't got time for the pain.
When your body hasn't got time for the pain, new Medipren from the makers of Tylenol products.
Tums doesn't have it. Rolaids doesn't have it. Maalox Plus does. We have what you need for complete relief of excess acid, heartburn, and gas. Maalox for acid and heartburn, plus simethicone for gas. Get complete relief. Try Maalox Plus.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled today that if police search the wrong apartment because of an honest mistake, they can use that evidence that they find there to convict a defendant. That is an important exception to the rule that evidence seized illegally may not be used in court. And as NBC's legal correspondent Carl Stern reports tonight, the court made an exception to another important rule, the one that says that gambling losses are not deductible from a person's income tax. The court said that that rule does not apply to professional gamblers.
Robert Gretzinger finally won the big one. Not at the dog track, but at the U.S. Supreme Court. Overturning the long-held position of the Internal Revenue Service, the court agreed with Gretzinger that his gambling losses were enough like business losses that they should be deductible in computing his income tax.
I list myself as dog gambler, and it's my job, it's my occupation, it's my business.
Gretzinger goes to the Tampa dog track as often as 9 times a week, sometimes day and night. One year he won $70,000 but lost $72,000. When he tried to deduct the net loss from other income, such as that from investments, IRS said no, on the grounds that gambling is a hobby, a form of amusement.
Come on back, 5. Come on back, you ain't gonna catch 6. I'm gonna lose my bet.
But today, the justices said a full-time gambler is in a trade or business just as if he owned a casino or was an active trader on the stock market. They sided with Gretzinger 6-3 that his gambling losses should be deductible as a business loss.
The average person comes in as a sport, they buy a program, they walk in, they bet all 13 races. They get in their car and they spend an evening going home. More fun than going to a picture show. I'm out here as a business, strictly as a business. When I walk in that door, I'm in my office. I sit up here, I've had the same seat for 38 years. That's my office.
Today, Gretzinger was en route to a dog track in Colorado and could not be reached for comment. Several months ago, when we talked to him, he offered us 3-to-1 odds that he would win. Carl Stern, NBC News at the Supreme Court.
John Chancellor's commentary tonight comes from the White House, and it is about the handling of the Iran-Contra affair. John?
It was 3 months ago this week when we learned of the Iran-Contra scandals here at the White House. It's amazing when you think about it that the Reagan administration, so skilled at public relations, has let this drag on for 3 months. This White House used to solve PR problems in 3 days, not 3 months. But in this case, the White House has broken a basic law of public relations, which says that if an organization has a problem, the way to deal with it is to get it all out in public right away. The Johnson & Johnson company did that when the Tylenol scare hit the headlines. B.F. Goodrich did that when it disclosed that its employees were subject to chemical damage in some of its plants. Bristol-Myers went public immediately when confronted with the details of possibly dangerous asbestos in its hair dryers. Those companies understood the necessity of getting the facts out quickly, and they're all right. But the White House has followed the bad examples of companies like Firestone, which got in deep trouble when it denied that some of its tires were defective, or D.H. Robbins, which said its Dalcon shield caused no medical risk to the women who wore it. These companies had bad trouble. The irony of the Iran-Contra scandals is that an administration which prides itself on its public relations abilities wouldn't or couldn't get its side of the story to the public. If the facts had come out last November, things would be much different here today. Which is commentary for this evening.
In West Beirut today, Syrian troops killed 23 Shiite Muslim fighters, members of the radical pro-Iranian Hezbollah, or Party of God. This was the first major clash involving the Syrians since they moved into West Beirut last weekend. And there was another indisputable sign of despair in that city today. It involves the Commodore Hotel. In the past, the owner had always been able to pay off all of the factions and keep the Commodore open as a haven for journalists. But recently, the fighting moved inside the hotel, and someone even stole Coco, the parrot, a fixture at the bar widely celebrated for imitating incoming artillery. That was the last straw. Today, the owner closed the Commodore Hotel.
We asked 1,000 doctors what would they take for the minor aches, pains, and stiffness of arthritis. Extra strength Tylenol or Bayer?
Bayer.
Doctors chose Bayer, 3-to-1 over extra strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
A tiger has black stripes. A tiger has a brown nose. We saw a rhinoceros.
Kindergartners across the country are reading as much as 2 grade levels above the national average because of an IBM learning program called Writing to Read. Using personal computers and other tools, it helps them convert sounds they can say,
See the word pig.
into sounds they can write and read.
A frog eats insects. A frog eats bugs.
I've been involved in a lot of innovative programs. This is the first one that I feel will stay forever. I think Writing to Read is here to stay.
I see a tiger. A tiger sees me. Tigers live in the zoo. The end.
To learn more about Writing to Read, Write IBM, Box 446, Montvale, New Jersey.
I'm Brian Gumbel. Tomorrow morning on Today, Chicago Mayor Harold Washington.
I'm Jane Pauley, also the Grammy winners and the stars of the Festival on Ice.
Join us tomorrow morning on Today.
Is your antacid strong enough?
No, and it's even a leading plus brand.
Try double strength Mylanta 2 with ounce for ounce nearly double the acid neutralizing power of any leading plus brand.
Now that's strength.
Mylanta 2.
As any young person who has participated in high school sports will tell you, a coach can have a big impact on your life, and that influence goes well beyond teaching a fast break or a zone defense. Tonight, NBC's Bob Dotson tells us about a basketball coach at Wilbur Cross High School in Connecticut who learned that his role means a lot more than his won-and-loss record.
There's a group of kids in this inner-city school that stands out from the rest. They wear ties and are clean-shaven, all because of an unassuming man named Robert Salisbury.
Who would like to read number 1? We'll take you.
Each day, Bob Salisbury teaches 6 special education classes, and after school, coaches basketball.
Don't pass the ball! Don't pass the ball!
He works hardest with those who will never be stars,
That's it now. That's right. Okay.
helping them play better,
Hold the ball!
than actively seeking college scholarships to pull them out of poverty.
Coach, you work down with him.
He used to ignore such players, but what happened to John Williamson changed his mind.
He taught me a lesson. And did I make a triple mistake? And I think I did.
Williamson. John Williamson was Salisbury's finest player, went all the way to the pros, but dropped out of school to do it. When his career ended, he ran out of money.
He was forced to sell his 20-room mansion and eventually move his family to an apartment just 3 blocks from the projects where his mother raised her 11 children alone.
You can't make it in the world without the education or school.
Williamson now works 4 to midnight as a guard at a juvenile detention center.
Take him, Mike! Take the man, Mike!
He asked Bob Salisbury to teach his son about life. Salisbury's teams have been Connecticut State champions nearly half his long career.
What did you do to get a foul?
Yet he no longer dwells on wins or losses.
If you are only concerned about winning, then you've lost sight of what the purpose of dealing with young people is all about. Maurice.
He wants them to have an education.
How many more games do you have to play? 5 games. 5 games, and your career is over. Over with. Gone.
108 of his players have gone on to college. Those who faltered, he helped even there. More than 40 have earned their degrees. If they gave trophies for such concern,
then I should have an awful lot of awards. An awful lot. And I don't mean for basketball. That my house should be filled. And I don't say that in an arrogant sort of a way. But I'm saying that from my heart.
Bob Salisbury is a winner, not just for what he teaches on the court, but for what he teaches kids to do after the basketball stops bouncing. Bob Dotson, NBC News, New Haven, Connecticut.
That's Nightly News for this Tuesday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Tonight, a runaway recruit escapes a setup.
I'm scared to death.
When there's a missing link, you know who's going to find it.
Oh, yeah.
Matlock. Then, in her Oscar-winning role,
Something's happened to you, Pa.
Sally Field fights to keep her family together.
I don't care if it kills me. I'm not going to give up.
Places in the Heart, tonight.
Coming up next from News Center 13.
The city of Ottumwa looks for a ray of hope after Hormel says it's pulling out. John Stone with the story.
Is there oil in those hills near Carroll? Linda McEntee will have that report.
And Diane Roberts says there's more to school than just the basics. She'll tell us why.
Plus Mike's forecast and Jeff of the sports, all next from News Center 13.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. He's the award-winning superstar, performer, songwriter,
actor, entertainer.
Because you're mine, I walk the line.
In concert, featuring June Carter.
We got married in a fever. I hit the train.